All right, so the amateur progression, back to it, it works. We've had people last 3.5 years show it to us, and we're like astonished. And the same thing kind of happens across the board, and we'll get to more of that in a second. So day one, what you're going to do is you're going to have your athletes come in. You're going to have them squat 3 sets of 5. That's straight across the board. Now the question is, how do I find what weight that is? It doesn't really matter. I just need them to start somewhere. All right, but I don't need them to start where it's too difficult. All right, so everybody, all of you know you have people who walk through your doors and you're like, all right, I'm going to put a bar on him. This is going to be awesome. I got this 15-year-old kid. He's going to be a stud. And then you put a bar on their back, or you try to get them to do anything, and they're pretty much miserable at it. You guys are, I think, smart enough to know what weight to kind of start people at. We'll just put weight on their bar. We had I worked with a kid, Christian. He was 14. He's now 15. He showed up every day. No matter what weight we put on the bar, it looked exactly the same. So we started him really light, knowing that, you know, this is a long roller coaster trip. So I don't know where you're going to start your athletes. I think that's your job as a coach to kind of figure it out. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too heavy where they're struggling out the gate. You want them to understand they're going to add about 10 pounds a week to their squat. So over the course, about 6 weeks is probably going to get fairly heavy. So usually lighter. All right. Squat 3 sets of 5 straight across the board. We're going to do the exact same thing with the press. Same concept there. Maybe start them with the bar. Something relatively easy. Understand we do know our end point. Then we're going to run. Hold your questions about the run. We will get to that at the very end. It's right here. All right, so day one, they squat, they press, they run. Real simple. Day 2, they come on in. They're going to deadlift. They're just going to work up to a heavy 5. All right, pretty much kind of like what we did with the squat today. Just work up. Again, I don't know where that leads them. Just once their form starts to break down, probably stop them there, work on it. All right, then they're going to do 3 sets of max pull-ups. Okay, so chances are, new kid comes in your door, can't do pull-ups. We can do assisted, but big thing that we like to do is negative holds or manual resistance pull-ups, which we will definitely do today, and you'll get a little experience on that. It's basically an assisted negative, because we know that concentric or eccentric load is pretty huge for the pull-up as long as it's controlled. You know, that eccentric load is a lot more damaging to the nervous system as well as the muscle. And so we know we can, if you do eccentric holds or negatives, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck than doing like a band pull-up. All right, day off. Again, though, it has its place. All right, C, we're going to come back in. We're going to squat. This is where stuff gets fun. This is where the linear progression progresses. All right, so he squatted, we'll just say 100 pounds just to make it easy. Day 1. Day 2, we're going to add 5 pounds to the bar. He's going to squat 105 pounds. So this is where the parentheses. So he comes in, 3 sets of 5 straight across the board, warms up. He's going to do 105 pounds now for 5. He's going to now bench press instead of press, 3 sets of 5, and then he's going to run. All right, same concept, just find a weight that, you know, looks like they can move pretty clearly on. D, we're going to power clean 5x3. Now, cleans and Olympic movements is where things get a little hairy just because it's more technique than it is strength, but initially it is a lot of strength, technique. We're going to do triples here. We know that you know, from all the old Russian books like Zatiskorsky and like Mel Sif and all those kind of old Russian manuals, is they clean in 3s and they snatch in 2s. And the reason being, after about 3s on cleans, things start getting a little hairy, a little dicey. It's pretty hard on the nervous system. You guys know that in your own self, you know, after a couple cleans, things start going haywire, right? So we want triples here on the power cleans, and later you'll see the snatches at doubles. All right, 3 sets of max chin-ups. So chin-ups is here, pull-ups are here. Same concept though, squeeze the shoulder blades back. And same exact progression, working them up however they can get them. All right. Then you're going to take day off. Chances are they're playing a sport of some sort. Then we're going to come all the way back here. Week starts over. He squatted 105 pounds on Thursday. Now he's going to go ahead and add another 5 pounds, and now he's at 110 pounds. All right, see how that works? Just 5 pounds every time they come in and squat. It's really amazing. Has any of you guys done this? You like that backhand spin I just did right there? That's good. You've done it? Work pretty good?
It's working for me. I was just going to ask though, let's say hypothetically you're a woman and the weight increments go up especially for bench, like I'm finding it hard.
So we've been seeing a lot of that on the posting lately, which is cool that we're getting a lot more women and people using the program that are females. It seems to be like the common thread is to just lower the increments. So instead of jumping 5 pounds, maybe jump 2.5 or 3. And on the pressing motion and bench motions, we know that that is a harder exercise for females just in general. Smaller jumps there too. You know, Nate, now that we joke, we make our bones off of like kilo PRs. You know, once you get to a certain level, you know, my man over there can probably attest to it. Once you get to a certain level, you work a year for a couple pounds or a couple kilos. You know, like that initial gain, that's why the amateur progression is so important. Once you get that gain, it's never going to leave you, but that dark times is going to last a while and you just got to suffer through it. But I would probably make smaller jumps because a lot of people just can't handle that load, especially if you're talking about smaller, like 95 pound, 115 pounds. My girlfriend weighs like 98 pounds and tried to do it. So it gets pretty hairy when they start squatting like 150 or so, you know? All right, so squat 3x5, add 5 pounds. Now they're gonna press. Now unlike, I just kind of already addressed this, instead of adding 5 pounds, they're gonna add 2.5. All right, figure that out, 2 pounds, whatever you guys need to do there. They're gonna come and run again. Notice run is always when they squat. B, we're gonna deadlift, heavy 5, work up. So now we're gonna add 10 pounds to the bar. For whatever reason, the deadlift goes up a little quicker. Plus we're only doing it once every 7 to 10 days. And I joked earlier, hey, you guys need to stop deadlifting so much. There's a ligament that runs along your hamstring and your piriformis, is your sacrotuberous ligament, I believe is what it's called. And when you deadlift, it softens and makes you weaker, like your back in a weaker position. And so we talk about once you get pretty strong, you should only deadlift about 7 to 10 days. Nothing wrong with that. Just understand as things start getting heavy, you're gonna put yourself at a little bit of a risk. And that's why when we get to the collegiate, you deadlift once every 18 days. I think is what it is. All right, so deadlift, add 10 pounds, 3 sets of max pull-ups. Now say you do have somebody who's like really legit at pull-ups, because I've worked with kids who like can just knock them out all day. Nothing wrong with throwing a little weight on them, all right? You know, making things harder. There's nothing ever wrong with scaling up when it comes to trying to make things more difficult, but except for like on the squat and these motions. Day off, we squat, cool. Don't worry, I know this is redundant. 115 now, and now we're gonna bench 3x5, and we're just, like I said, we're gonna add 2.5 pounds. All right, you're gonna run, D comes in, you're gonna power clean, just like the press and the bench, you're just gonna add 2.5 pounds, okay? Nice and short and sweet, so that over the course of time, it doesn't really feel like you're adding much to that Olympic movement. Really focus on technique though when you're introducing this, all right? Because I know for myself included, most people found Olympic lifting later on in life when they already had a base level of strength. So you can get away with a lot of crap when you're already strong. But then we hit that wall really quickly, all right? Everybody know what I'm talking about? You're like, oh, 225 is easy, but 230 might feel like the world. Or for some of you, a little heavier than that. All right? Now, what do? What we noticed over the last 3 years I talked about, we've collected a lot of data points. We know the amateur progression can last roughly about 20 weeks, okay? 20 weeks is about the gestation, or we'll call it the gestation period of the amateur progression. Some people will last a little longer out there, that's great, but we see on average about 20 weeks. It usually takes people though, however, about 12 weeks before they have to reset. Or, in worst cases, like 9 to 12 weeks before they have to do their first reset. So what does that mean? All right, so the reset means if I start, does this work for you? If I start here, this is 100 pounds, we'll just use a squat as an easy example. 14 weeks rolls by, and we're just riding that train up. Boom, get stuck, 14 weeks, how many pounds is that? 40? 240? So now he's at 140 pounds, so he's added 240 pounds. So he gets there, and he's like, oh, I came in, the day he's supposed to squat 245, he comes in and he gets his first 5, but it's pretty hairy. Second set he gets 3. Third set he gets 3 of his 5. You're like, all right, maybe it's just a bad day, he didn't sleep, he's a little tired. So we'll have people come in, try that again for the second time. This time he comes in and he gets buried. Like gets maybe 3 on his first set, can't get any his second, maybe gets maybe 1 on his third. That's when you know it's time to reset. All right, so when you do that, what we're gonna ask you to do is just drop the weight. So we're gonna drop, what we talk about is about 3 weeks, or about 20% or so, depending on the individual and how high it is. It's 20%, we don't like percentages because some people that might be a lot, some people that might not be a little. So we'll talk about go back about 3 weeks or so, which is roughly what, 30 pounds or so? All right, I reset and I just go choot, 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 ride that train back up again. Boom, I don't know where he fails at. Let's say he goes another 4 weeks. So he drops what, 3 weeks back. So how many, 5 times 3 is what? Help me out here. I can't do math, that's why I'm here. We'll just say it's 15 pounds. Is that it? That's it? No way. It's 10 pounds a week, come on. So he starts at 210, works his way back up, fails again. Great, perfect. All right, you may be confusing me right now. All right, drops 30 pounds, 210, works his way back up. Just rides up that train. All right, so you're going to keep resetting every single lift until every single lift fails. And you'll know that time is done. Like just say weird, think about it as a washcloth, we use that term, try to squeeze every last drop out of that washcloth. All right, so you're gonna just keep riding up. Say all of a sudden, you know, your squat is, you're getting crushed, you're resetting like every other week, your press is like going nowhere, your bench is going nowhere, but for some reason your deadlift is just riding. Keep riding out that amateur progression until everything fails. And you'll know, because it will be awful.